Hey YouTube, Joshua the window cleaner here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install a swinging door on a front door today. And I just want to show everybody the process and how to use this, and also so my employees can know how to do this if I'm not able to do it. So all right, here we go.
I want to go over all the tools that you're going to need to use today. So you'll need a pencil to put your marks on there for your cuts, and then you'll need a tape measure. You'll need a Phillips head screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, and then you want a 1/8 drill bit and a 5/16 drill bit. A pair of needle nose pliers if possible. Regular pliers should work too. A rubber mallet. Just some soapy water and a squirt bottle will work. And I prefer to use 2 drills. You can do it with 1. I just prefer 2. 1 for drilling the holes, 1 for screwing the screws in. Seems to work pretty good for me. Make sure you have extra batteries. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to take measurements on your door whenever you call to order a door. So you want to go from the top of the inside. Let me show you this groove right here. So on the frame of your door, you're going to have a little lip that sticks out, and then you're going to have this one. You want to measure from the inside of this all the way at the top, like so, all the way at the top, and then all the way down until you get to right here. So you want to measure from the top of that to the bottom of this. And so this measurement is going to be 96 inches. And then the width of it, same thing on the inside here, all the way to the inside of the other one, 35 1/4. Take measurement of your bottom channel here. So you measure this, and I would go 2 inches, maybe 2 inches and 1/8, because you're gonna have a bottom sweep on here, but you can see that this is 1 inch and 13/16. But I would do 2 1/8 on this one, because it's going to have a bottom sweep. You know to take off 2 1/8 from your side channel. So whenever you take your measurement, and I know we just measured it, but I just want to double check, should be 96. So 96. Looks like 96, and yeah, it should be 96, okay? So then you want to take off 2 1/8 inch from the 96, which should be 93 7/8. So 93 7/8 is what we're going to do. We're going to use this channel right here with your hinges on it. This is going to be the first one we cut. Now don't always do 2 inches and 1/8, because I have seen it where these bottom channels are different sizes, but the bottom channel is going to go all the way across. This one's the one that you're going to need to cut first. So let's go ahead and get this cut. All right, so now we're going to do 93 7/8. Put my mark on here on both sides. Now you want to use a saw that has at least a 200 tooth blade. This is what we're going to be using today. Make sure you have your safety glasses. And whenever you're cutting, you want to make sure the hinges are on the outside and that this will butt up perfectly against this part here. And then you want to make sure it's flat on the saw so that you get a straight, even cut. Right. There's going to be different screws in your all these little baggies. So this is one baggie full of screws. I've separated the screws, and the first screws that you're going to want to use are these screws right here. Now these are going to be wood screws, but these are going to go into your hinge channel. And there should be 9 unless there's a unless your hinge channel has 5 hinges. This one only has 3, so you should have 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I only use 3 in case you end up having to drill the holes again. You only want to start out with 3, so you want to put 1 in the top, 1 in the middle, 1 in the bottom until you get the door how you like it. And then once you get the door how you like it, then you put the other ones in. All right, so the first part you want to make sure, you want to put the hinges just how this door opens and shuts. So the main door has the hinges over here. So this is where you want to put the hinges of your new screen door. Now, this part does get a little bit tricky, but what you want to do is slide it up and then put your finger on the top hinge. You want to make sure that you can shut it, and there's still going to be a little bit of a gap here. Just a little bit, enough for you to shut it. Hold that there. You want to use your 1/8 drill bit and then a screw gun, and then just put one little hole in there with the pin. And once you get that in there, you want to make sure that it still shuts.
And you can see that this opens and shuts, and there's not a huge gap. And this right here, this part right here will seal that up whenever you shut the door. So you just got one screw in here in the middle, and you should be able to open and shut it without it touching the top, but nice and snug. And I like to do the top one on this one, just the middle one. Drill your hole. Okay, now you want to double check it again, because I have put it on there before and then need to go up or down with it again, which is why you only want to put one screw on each hinge. Looks like it's pretty good. All right, so the next part, you want to make sure you have a squirt bottle with soapy water. This is where you're going to use this. Make sure it's on mist mode, not squirt mode. It won't really help you much. And then you want to squirt it in this channel right here. The reason why you want to do this is because this is going to help you slide the door to where you need to be on the edges. And then you'll go ahead and grab your door. All right, and then you want to do the same thing with your door. It doesn't matter which side you do, whether it's left or right, you can choose whichever side. I always like to have the screen mesh looking like this on the outside versus having it where the spline shows on the outside like this. So I like it to be without the spline on the outside, and then the spline will be on the inside. So I normally like to put the top in first. All right, once you have the top part in, then you just slide the whole thing in. And you can see that you'll have to move it around a little bit. Try to get it where it needs to be on the top and on the bottom. But see, a lot of issues that you'll have is the framing. This is the problem. See how it's touching up top, touching up bottom, but you can see that frame is bowed way out. So sometimes you will run into this issue, and there's not much you can do about it. You'll have to explain it to the customer that, like, hey, like, we got the top and the bottom touching, but your frame is kind of bowed out. So it's just something that you're going to have to let the customer know. All right, so what'll happen is that sometimes it's not touching down there, but it is touching up here. So this is why you want the rubber mallet. Just tap it in a little bit until you can get it where it shouldn't. Okay, good. And now it's touching on the bottom. Rubber mallet a little bit. Okay. All right, so now that is going to be as close as I can get without it touching and catching. All right, and then I want to make sure that everything looks good up there and it's lined up with this hinge channel. All right, so I'm going to knock this down just a little bit until it's not needs to be. It's flush up against there. And then I'll check it again here. Looks like it's all good here. All good up top. All right, so these are the screws that you're going to want to use. They're self-tapping screws, so you won't have to screw in any holes or anything. It's just going to be these smaller ones that are self-tapping. So what I like to normally do is put a screw right in the middle here of each hinge. So I'll put a screw here, put a screw here, put a screw there. And the reason why you don't want to put a screw up the top or all the way at the bottom is because you'll get into the corner that's inside the door and it won't screw in very easily. So this is why I always put one here, here, and down. All right, so you want to make sure you go to the edge of this with your tape measure, and then I like to run it across this line right here, all the way over to the edge of your door, and that's going to be 35 and 3/16. This is going to be for your bottom channel that we talked about earlier. It looks like this. There's a spot for your bottom sweep, and I keep mentioning the bottom sweep. That is this part right here. And whenever you put it on the saw, you just want to make sure that it's not where the bottom sweep is. You want to line it up here because it's going to be flush up against there, and you'll be able to make a solid. All right, so you want to make sure you have your squirt bottle. Again, on the mist mode, just squirt it in that channel right there. This is going to make it easier for you to move it around. And your bottom channel, I normally like to look and see. It looks like I would want the sweep on the outside. So this is going to be on the outside of the door. All right, so now put one side on, slide it up in there. And then this is the part you'll have to use the rubber mallet again. And then you should be able to move that. Okay, so that should line up perfect over here, perfect over here.
Now the part you're gonna have to move down a little bit is you're gonna have to look down here and make sure it's even all the way across, and it's not. So this side has to go up. So it has to go up a little bit. And you got a little bit of forgiveness over here because you're gonna put that bottom sweep in, but at least go down just a little bit. Probably about right there. All right. And I would say that that is pretty even. Again, you wanna make sure that this is perfectly flush here, so you're not catching on that side of the door. And then this is flush here. Okay, looks flush on both sides. Right, and so these are gonna be the same screws that you just used here. The one with they're self-tapping screws, the little bitty ones. And again, you don't want to put the screws on this edge, because if you do, you're not going to be able to go through because those corners are really strong. So it's a lot easier if you just come in. I normally like to go about 6 to 8 inches, and then I'll just go up. I want to make sure you go into the door. You can use a tape measure if you want to get fancy with it and put the screws in the same exact, from here to here. But I'm normally pretty good about just guesstimating it. It's not going to be a huge deal. So I'll normally go about right here. You only really need 2 on the bottom. Depends on how big the door is. I mean, you're going to deal with bigger doors sometimes. But 2 on the bottom, 3 on this side. And you don't need to put any on the inside. Just on the outside is just fine. All right.
All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and put the rest of these screws in for the hinge channel.
So the first thing you wanna do is use a 1/8 drill bit. Go ahead and sink your holes.
And sometimes on this part, you wanna go in this way, because you might, if you go this way, it might not work very good for you because it'll split the wood. So you just go that way.
And the reason why you want to use a drill before you put the screws in, because these here are wood screws, and what will happen is you could split the wood, so you always want to drill your holes first. Okay. The next pieces we'll need is this piece here, this piece here. We'll need this cotter pin and this one too. Okay, and then we'll also need these screws. We'll only need 3. There's 1 extra, but we'll only need 3. So we'll need these screws. And this is for the hydraulic piece that we're gonna install. You wanna line this up as close to right here as possible. And then, you want to give it a little bit of room, but not a lot. And then go ahead and sink one screw with your drill. And then you just want to sink 1 for now. Okay. And once you got 1, go back to your other drill. Okay. Sink the holes. Now we're going to attach this. We're going to use the cotter pin that has that little split in it. And so I always like to put it in the hole first just a little bit and slide it up over here and then push it in. And once you push it in, it should be like that, and then you're going to turn this to where this button is on the inside of the door. On this pin right here, I always take a flathead, and you only have to bend one side. So bend one side like that, and take your pliers, bend it like this. You only have to do one side. You don't have to do both sides. One side's gonna hold it just fine. All right, so on this one, I said you needed the smaller one, but you actually need the longer one for this adapter. And this one's gonna be for this piece. So to compare, you have this short, fat one versus this long and skinny one. You wanna use the long and skinny one for this adapter. There's another adapter that you would use the big one for, which you shouldn't ever have to use this one, but this is what the bigger one's for. but I never use this piece. It's always left over. It just depends on the style of door. This specific door is gonna use this one. Now this is easily manipulated, so you just hold this piece here and you can turn this however you need to. But you really wanna make sure that this is flat like this, because this is how this is attached. So you wanna put this over that first hole right there. Okay, you put the screw in, or the quarter pin in there, that first hole, just like so. So how it's on the first hole over here, quarter pin, the little pieces on there. All right, on this part, you do want somebody holding the door for you. And then what you're gonna do is, you're gonna line this piece up, and you do want to pull a little bit on this, and then you just push this button. Not too much, because you won't have enough slack. So you actually wanna go in with it. Just maybe like, depending on how big the door is. The bigger the door, the more you have to do this, but this door is okay. So just create a little bit of slack and then put this here, and then you're going to drill a hole right here in the middle with your 1/8 bit. All right, so now I have my hole drilled in the center of that. Then you want to put your screw in there. So these smaller, fatter screws, there should only be 2 of them, is the ones that you're going to be using for that hole. All right, so now you see I put that screw in there, right there in the center, so you have a little bit of leverage where you can adjust it if you need to. And then we're gonna go ahead and drill a hole here with our 1/8 bit, and then we're gonna put the same screw in there, right here. Same screw. All right, the hole is drilled, ready to put the screw. All right, both screws are in. Now this is gonna be your adjustment right here, so whenever you open the screen door, it's gonna either have pressure or not pressure. When you tighten this in, it makes it harder for it to close, and the more you loosen it, it makes it easier to close. To make the adjustment, you just want to use your Phillips head screwdriver that we talked about earlier. Okay, so you should be able to open your door all the way. And you let it go. I think that's slamming just a little bit too much. So I'm going to screw this screw that I just showed you in. Okay, now let's try it again. Still slamming a little bit too much. Screw it in some more. Okay, open it all the way. It's a lot better. It's probably going to be perfect after we put the handle in. But if we have to make adjustments, we can make adjustments again once we get the handle in. You should have one of these in there to line up where the holes go for your handle. So you can see that this has those little lines on there. This is the template. You're gonna wanna make sure you bend that on that line like I just did, see? Make sure you're on that line. You wanna make sure that this is not gonna interfere with where that's gonna be, so it needs to be higher up. So we're gonna put it right here, okay? So that's how you're gonna do it, and then you're gonna use your 1/8 drill to mark your spots. All right, so this is what it should look like after you put your spots on there. You should have 3 1/8, just little marks. All you need is just those little bitty marks you can see right there. All right, then you wanna walk outside and then put your foot down there like he's doing. You can even do this yourself and just put your foot up under here, and then you can see the 3 marks there. It's time to change out your bit to the 5/16 bit, and then you just wanna line it up with those holes and then start drilling. All right, now you wanna make sure you're going straight in and not at an angle. Okay, there's your first hole, and your second hole. Okay. Okay, now your third hole, line it up. Perfect. So now you got your 3 holes drilled. All right, so the next ones that I'm gonna need, everything's in here in this bag for the handles. You need, this is for the outside, this is for the inside. So go ahead and open it up. You need this spring, this piece which holds your door in. This piece goes here. And then you're gonna need these two screws right here. Okay. Now this part here, you're gonna put this piece in this hole like this. All right, so this piece goes in the hole right here. So all three of these are gonna go in your 3 holes. And then this piece will be hanging out here. And then you wanna put the tornado thing in just like this. And then you're gonna put like this. Put that, make sure that lines up in that, there's a little hole in there. Make sure this lines up in that little hole. You should be able to maneuver it to where it fits in. Put one of your screws in. All right, so now we're gonna line up that. Now that'll hold it for a second, because if you do, it won't be able to lock. You just kinda wanna get them started. And you can tighten it up at the end. And also too, on this I learned, you wanna make sure it's unlocked. Like there's a locking mechanism here on the inside, you see that? See their locking mechanism? You wanna make sure it's unlocked when you're screwing these screws in, especially that last little bit where you get them all tight, okay? Okay, it should be tight. Okay, works properly. Lock it, works properly. Okay? Okay, cool, perfect. Okay, the next piece is this piece here that you see, and you wanna have somebody pushing on the door, and then you wanna put it right here and then slide it over until it touches this part, okay? And then you wanna put a screw right there in the middle, just one screw. So once you've marked where you need it to go, you can open the door and then just mark it with that. And then get your screw. And I would do it right in the middle, because then you can adjust it a little bit if you need to. That should be good. And so let's try to shut the door. All right, so you open it. All right, it looks like it shuts perfectly. So we know that that's in the right spot. So now you just go ahead and drill your other hole. Do it in the middle, in case you need to make adjustments. Okay, you should be able to just close it again. Again, push it all the way open before you do it. And then just close it, because that's gonna tell you what your hydraulic's gonna do. All right. I still think it's shutting a little bit too hard, so I'm gonna adjust the hydraulic just a little bit more. So you don't want it, I don't want to adjust it too much, just like maybe just a hair. Open it all the way. That's what you're gonna do. The reason why I open it all the way is because people walk outside, they're gonna walk it, and they're gonna open it all the way. Okay, so we open it all the way. That's perfect. Because you want it to be able to shut behind people, so when you're walking in your home, and it shuts perfectly. All right, so now that we have everything installed on the door, I want to show you how it works. So if you just push this button in, you'll be able to hold it shut. Sometimes there'll be a little bit of metal piece right here that you have to slide over to make it hold, but this particular door, this is the way it is. And then to undo it, all you gotta do is just push on the door like that and it comes shut. So now we're gonna install the sweep, the last part of the door. And you can use a razor blade. It's just fine, but we actually have clippers for it. These are Ronin multi-cutters. So this is what we use. So I squirted it down with a little bit of soapy water like you saw. And then I'm gonna slide it through this channel here. Once you slide it all the way over, put your finger on the edge. When you slide it over, just wanna make sure it's your finger. Line it up with your finger, push it back. So you know it's right there on the edge. Now once you're lined up all the way to where you need to with your finger, like I just showed you, I always like to just kind of move it a little bit like this, kind of mark it, and then pull it back out, and you should see a little mark right there. Then you just trim it. Okay. And then line it back up with your finger. Okay. All right, so that's perfect. Now I want to look and see where it's at on this. You might not have to trim it at all. It doesn't look like I need to trim it at all because it's not stopping the door from functioning. So I'm just gonna leave that bottom sweep fully. So if you had to, all you have to do is push a little hole like that and then just pull it. And it's gonna pull it straight. And you can do that. You got 3 or 4 kinds right here. And sometimes you don't even need a bottom sweep, but I always like to put it on there because it is a little bit more of a seal. All right, so now the last thing you wanna make sure you do after your door is installed properly is you wanna make sure you clean up all your mess. So all this stuff, take a handheld vacuum or whatever, clean up all your mess, make sure you didn't leave any tools, and you're good to go. All right, screen door is all installed. Good to go. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Peace out.